Can you imagine someone who became one of the most recognized faces on the internet, praised for her charm, her moves, and her overnight fame, only to face global backlash for something she never created? This isn't just a story about TikTok dances. It's about credit culture and who gets to profit from someone else's creativity. If you think this is just another influencer scandal, think again. Because what happened to Addison Rae in 2020 wasn't just personal, it was historic. It ignited a cultural reckoning about race, recognition, and representation on social media. And what you're about to hear might just change how you see virality forever. In 2020, Addison Rae Easterling was at the top of the TikTok world. With her bubbly energy, smiley face, and effortless dance routines, she quickly became a household name. Brands wanted her. TV shows booked her. Even the Kardashians embraced her. But behind the scenes of her meteoric rise was a growing storm, one that had nothing to do with her talent and everything to do with the talent she didn't acknowledge. Addison was performing dances that had already gone viral. But those dances weren't hers. They were created by Black choreographers, and she wasn't giving them credit. One of the biggest flashpoints came when Addison performed on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. It should have been a triumphant moment, one of TikTok's biggest stars bringing viral dances to late-night TV. But something felt wrong. Addison performed 8 different dance routines, some of the biggest on the app. But not once were the original creators mentioned, and the majority of those dances, created by young Black influencers. The internet took notice immediately. Critics slammed the show for not inviting the original choreographers. Others questioned why Addison accepted the spotlight without using her platform to uplift the people whose creativity had gotten her there. The most iconic of these dances was the Renegade, a hyper-viral move originally created by Jalaiah Harmon, a Black teenager from Atlanta. When the Renegade took off, it was Addison and Charli D'Amelio who were seen performing it on red carpets, on talk shows, and in advertisements. Jalaiah. She was invisible, left behind, watching the dance she created become global without her name attached. And that's when the narrative shifted. This wasn't just about TikTok anymore. It was about digital appropriation, about systemic erasure, about how Black creators were being used as the engine of viral trends, while white creators collected the fame and money. Addison Rae became the face of that controversy. And while she wasn't the only one involved, she was one of the most visible. People started calling her out directly. Hashtags demanding justice for Black TikTokers went viral. Influencers, writers, and cultural critics started asking the hard questions. Why are white creators being booked on national TV for dances they didn't make? Why aren't platforms doing more to credit the originators? And most importantly, how many times does this cycle have to repeat before something changes? Addison responded eventually. She said it wasn't her intention to take credit. She said she loves and supports all creators. But the apology felt too little, too late for many, especially for the Black teens who watched their work get repackaged without even a tag. And the issue wasn't just about acknowledgement, it was about opportunity. Because when a creator like Addison performs a dance on Fallon, she gets exposure, sponsorships, and new fans. But when the Black originators do it, they're often ignored, overlooked, or worse, seen as imitators of their own style. This moment sparked a broader conversation across the creator economy. TikTok users began organizing to credit original choreographers. Movements like Uncredited the creator gained traction. Some Black creators even staged a temporary boycott, refusing to create new dances to highlight how much the platform depended on their ideas. And Addison Rae? She was caught in the middle, not because she set out to exploit anyone, but because she benefited from a system that made it easy to ignore where the culture really came from. In part 2 of this story, we'll dive deeper into how this controversy changed the TikTok landscape, how Addison tried to recover from the backlash, and what it says about race, recognition, and responsibility in the influencer age. As the backlash grew louder, Addison Rae remained mostly silent at first. Her fans defended her, saying she was just a performer, not the creator of the dances, and didn't claim to be. But that wasn't the point. The outrage wasn't about stealing choreography word for word. It was about how visibility, opportunity, and success were being distributed. And in 2020, when the world was already reckoning with systemic racism and inequality, the optics of a white influencer benefiting from the creativity of black teens without acknowledgement hit a nerve far deeper than any dance challenge. Addison eventually responded in interviews saying that she never meant to leave anyone out, and that she had nothing but respect for the original creators. She said the situation was out of her control since the show didn't include credits, and that she hoped to work with more choreographers in the future. But many saw the apology as surface level, lacking the depth or direct accountability people expected from someone with her influence, because it wasn't just about one performance, it was about a pattern, and for many young black creators it felt like déjà vu. The same thing happening again in a new digital package. Jalaiah Harmon, the teenage creator of the Renegade, eventually got her moment. She was invited to perform at NBA All-Star Weekend and featured in multiple media outlets, but that only happened after intense public pressure. It shouldn't have taken a storm of outrage for her to be seen. Her talent was never in question, only the system's willingness to spotlight her. Addison had the opportunity to use her platform to uplift creators like Jalaiah in real time, but she didn't, and that silence spoke volumes. The TikTok world began to shift. A growing movement of black creators called out the platform for how its algorithms seemed to suppress their content, while promoting white influencers performing similar dances. Content houses and influencer collectives started having difficult conversations about diversity. Some brands began reevaluating who they sponsored and why. It wasn't just about being performers anymore. Influencers were now being asked to become advocates, to know the history of the trends they profited from, and to credit the culture that birthed their success. For Addison Rae, the controversy marked a turning point. Her name became tied not just to success but to controversy. The internet began to view her differently, less as the girl next door breakout star and more as a symbol of how white creators often reap the rewards of black innovation without sharing the spotlight. Her career didn't end, but it changed. She became more cautious, more curated, and less central to the TikTok ecosystem she once dominated. The criticism didn't erase her achievements, but it forced a recalibration of what fame and fairness looked like in the digital age. More importantly, it forced the industry itself to look inward. TikTok began making adjustments, encouraging users to credit original creators and highlighting choreographers in official campaigns. But problems still persisted. The playing field was far from level, and many creators argued that a culture of erasure still existed under the surface, only now hidden behind hashtags and PR statements. Addison's story became part of a larger case study in digital ethics. Who gets to tell the story of a trend? Who gets paid for it? Who gets invited to sit on panels, go on tours, sign brand deals, or appear on national television? The answers revealed deep structural imbalances, but the backlash also sparked real dialogue. It encouraged creators to start tagging the originators, to link back to the first videos, to recognize that every viral trend has a birthplace, and more often than not, it begins in black spaces. Addison Rae didn't start out with malicious intent. She wasn't out to steal or deceive. But the truth is, intent doesn't cancel impact. And in a world where content is currency, the lack of credit is a kind of theft. Whether it is conscious or not matters less than whether it is addressed. And in this case, the addressing came too late. The backlash Addison faced wasn't just about her. It was about every moment in internet history where credit was forgotten and culture was co-opted. Her name became shorthand for a larger problem. And while she continued her career branching into music, acting, and fashion, the conversation never fully left. Her early fame was forever tied to the question of accountability. The takeaway is clear: credit matters, representation matters, and silence, especially from those with platforms, isn't neutral. It's a choice. A decision to either amplify or ignore the people who made your success possible. And when that success is built on borrowed culture, the responsibility to speak up grows even louder. In the end, Addison Rae's story is a warning and a lesson. It as a reminder that in the digital age, fame moves fast, but so does scrutiny, that creators have power but also responsibility, that when you dance with someone else's culture you don't just owe them thanks. You owe them visibility. You owe them space. You owe them the same chance to rise.